A Hanukkah menorah is a candelabra that has 9 candles to it. 8 candles are in a straight line, and 1 candle is a little taller. The original menorah candelabra that dates back to the times of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem had 6 candles, 3 on each side and 1 in the middle. That candelabra was lit every single morning by the high priest, and it brought the light from inside the temple to the outside world. The windows in the temple were designed in a shape that it's to bring the light outwardly. And that is the whole mission of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, was to light up the world. The miracle of Hanukkah was a twofold miracle. It was a miracle of the battle when the Greek Syrians were trying to conquer Israel and Jerusalem with 40,000 soldiers, and a small group of the Maccabees, of Jewish freedom fighters, were able to dispel the 40,000 soldiers, and they ran away. And the miracle of Hanukkah occurred. That was the battle. And then there was the miracle that when they rededicated the temple and they wanted to kindle the menorah, they found the menorah intact. But in order to kindle the menorah, they needed pure oil, an oil that was purely made out of olives, and it was sealed by the high priest to certify its integrity of holiness. And they searched and they searched. They found many bottles of oil, but they didn't want to use it because the seal was broken. It was purposely defiled. But amazingly, they found 1 jug of oil that was still sealed, that was whole. And they were so excited. But it was enough only for 1 day. And they lit up the menorah. And when God saw how committed and dedicated they were, God allowed this 1 jug of oil that should have lasted just 1 day, it lasted 8 days. So we replicate that miracle every year by kindling a menorah on Hanukkah every single night. Starting with the very first night, we have a candle which is called a shamash, the server candle. You first light that, and then you light 1 candle the first night on the right, and then every night you add on another candle to its left until the 8th night of Hanukkah, all 8 candles are lit. So that is what a menorah is. Interestingly, traditionally, it's been depicted the menorah is in like half circles. A group of half circles, that is the image of a traditional menorah from the temple. However, many don't know that that is actually erroneous, because the menorah that was in the temple was actually vertically, like 3 V's stacked up onto each other. So they were vertically going up, not round. So how did the discrepancy become going from vertical to semicircles? When the Romans conquered Jerusalem and confiscated the holy vessels, they brought it to Rome. And they adapted that all the vessels should look like everything looks in Rome. If you notice, in Rome, everything is arched. Everything is a semicircle. So they melted down the menorah and they made it to be semicircles, so it should fit into the Roman culture. But that's not how it was. As a matter of fact, if you look in Rome today, there is the famous or infamous arch of Titus, the wicked one. So Titus was a tyrant who waged war to conquer Jerusalem and the Jewish people. So when he confiscated and he stole all the items, ransacked the holy temple with the vessels, and he brought them to Rome. So on the arch, there's an actual picture of the runes that they stole from the holy temple. And one of them is the have the circle-shaped menorah. But in reality, the menorah is vertical V's. That's just a tidbit of information to be aware of. And if you notice, many public menorahs that are out there now actually have the V shape. Another tidbit of information, the Ten Commandments were given square, rectangular. However, the Romans added an arch to it to make the Ten Commandments look arched, but they were never arched. The Ten Commandments was a square rectangle. So back to the menorah. So a menorah could be made out of any material. Predominantly, it's best to make it out of pure silver because that is the nicest affordable material. And when we do a good deed, when we observe a holiday, we want to use the best, the nicest. So many people invest and save up to be able to purchase a nice sterling silver menorah. And that works just fine. Otherwise, it could be of any metal. It could be of copper. It could be of silver plated. It could be made out of wood. Any material a menorah can be made of. But the provisions is it should have 8 candles in a straight line and 1 candle a little taller, which is the serving candle. Now, I have seen many innovative type of menorahs. There are menorahs that were made out of bottle caps. There are menorahs made out of potatoes. People would line up a line of potatoes and gore out a hole and put a wick and olive oil in it. So whatever it takes, it is the light that's the important part. And also, we want it to be in a straight line. So it shouldn't look like a torch, but it should be distinctive candles. But an interesting tidbit, why do we emphasize olive oil? Because we can actually use any wax candles, any paraffin, oil or wax, anything that lights works. But ideally, it's olive oil. So one of the reasons is because in the Holy Temple, that was the oil that was used in the original menorah. But there's a more symbolic to the olive oil. In order to get oil out of an olive, it requires some very hard squeezing and even crushing. And only after you crush the olives do you get amazing oil out of it. As a matter of fact, the oil that was used in the temple was the virgin oil. It was the very first squeeze that came out, was considered the best of oil. The symbolism is that at times as we go through in life, we feel squeezed, we feel even crushed. Don't give up, because when we get crushed, some very pure oil is going to come out of us. And this is what happened to us in history. Many of times the Jewish nation have been crushed, but we haven't disappeared. We land on our feet and we become once again a light unto the nations. And that is what Hanukkah, the message of Hanukkah, is about. And this is why we light a menorah, why a menorah is so center in Hanukkah. Although we're celebrating winning the victory of the battle, but there's nothing to demonstrate it. Rather, the focus of Hanukkah is the focal point of the menorah, because that is the symbol of pureness, the symbol of tradition, and the symbol of belief and faith in God and our soul. Because if our soul is compared to a flame, so when we kindle the menorah and you look at the flames of the menorah, you're looking at your own soul. And we realize that living here in this world is a gift from God. And the journey in this world is a blessing from God. Because the day that you were born, God said the world can no longer exist without you. And here we are on this world and this journey. It is only to bring light into your own home, to be a light unto the nations, and to bring light to any situation. Be the candle, be the server, so that you too can bring light into the world. Because as we know, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. Just the other day, I heard an amazing story about Nuremberg, Germany. We all know about the Nuremberg trials. There's so much about Nuremberg. But many don't know that there was this amazing, beautiful synagogue called Adat Israel in Nuremberg. 1938, the onset of the Holocaust with Kristallnacht, with many synagogues were burnt, thousands of Jewish businesses were shattered, and many were deported to concentration camps and murdered on sight. Day of Kristallnacht, before Adat Israel was put aflame, a 10-year-old boy ran into the synagogue and he saw a golden menorah. And he decided that he wants this. He grabbed the menorah, he stole it from the synagogue and brought it home. And that night was Kristallnacht. That night the synagogue got destroyed. As a matter of fact, just 2 weeks ago, a woman found in her basement, she uncovered a file of photos that has never been seen in 84 years. Photos that her grandfather was a photographer, and he did a chronicle on the Holocaust. He was a reporter. And he had this collection of pictures of the Adat Israel going up in flames in Nuremberg, Germany, that she just found, that no one ever knew it existed. It really depicts the horrific, up close and personal pictures of their synagogue in Nuremberg, Germany. So this menorah, the father was very upset with his son for stealing it, that the father says, we have to return this. But they realized there was no more synagogue to return the menorah to. So they didn't know what to do with it. So they just kept it with them. 84 years ago that happened. Just recently, this family from Switzerland calls up my colleague, Rabbi in Nuremberg, Germany, and says, we have something that belongs to the Jewish community in Nuremberg, Germany. He says, what is it? It's a golden menorah. Apparently, my grandfather, when he was 10 years old, stole it. But then Kristallnacht came, and he had nowhere to return it to. And it remained with us all these years. But I now realize what Nuremberg went through, and what the Jewish people have gone through over all these years since the Holocaust. I want it to go back to its home in Nuremberg. He made his way down to Germany. He met with Rabbi and handed this menorah over. This just happened a couple weeks ago. Rabbi said, this year I am going to be kindling this golden menorah. This golden menorah spent 84 years away from his home. The night of Kristallnacht, when the synagogues were burning, everyone would have thought that Judaism was over. 6 million martyrs were killed and murdered in the worst of ways. Everyone thought Judaism was gone. But here we are 84 years later. We are here. Not only are we here, we are here bringing light to the world. This golden menorah that was standing so tall 84 years ago in Adat Israel synagogue in Nuremberg, Germany, is now back in Nuremberg and is going to be lit and kindled. And the rabbi is going to say the 3 beautiful blessings, thanking God for giving the opportunity to kindle the lights of Hanukkah, thanking God for the miracles of those days and these days, and thanking God for being alive and being here at this day. This is truly another Hanukkah miracle in the year 2022. This is what a menorah is all about. A menorah is about bringing light to the world, light to your home, and ultimately, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. How much more so a lot of light? Happy Hanukkah. God bless you. God loves you.